The automobile hummed softly alongside the interstate as we made our way back from what became imagined to be a rejuvenating excursion. Emma changed into a sleep beside me, her head resting gently towards the window. Non-violent. I peeked over at her, looking to keep in mind the ultimate time we had shared a moment of genuine affection. It seemed like ages ago. We had spent the ultimate weeks visiting alongside the coast of Spain, soaking up the sun and exploring ancient ruins and vibrant cities. Our digital camera was full of pics, sunsets, avenue markets, and the two folks continually smiling. However, below those smiles, something had felt off. I just could not position my finger on it till now. Arriving home, I felt a lingering sense of disquiet. Emma retreated to the bedroom, claiming exhaustion, whilst I settled in the dwelling room with our digicam. My rationale turned into simple: transfer the images to my PC, and perhaps find a proper one for our holiday card. It really is, after I saw it, the image that might shatter my world. It was taken near a fort in Alunar, an area we had planned to visit, however skipped due to the fact Emma had felt ill or so, she said. There she turned into standing underneath the moonlight, her silhouette framed by the historic stones. She wasn't on my own. Beside her turned into a man, his face turned away, his hand resting a piece too low on her again. I zoomed in, heart pounding. There was no mistaking the intimacy of their pose, the familiarity with which she leaned into him. It was past due. While past the time she had back to our resort room, the one's nights claiming she had been out for a stroll to clear her head, rage and betrayal boiled in me as I sat there, looking at the plain proof of her infidelity. How ought to she in any case those years, all our promises? I determined to confront her. She attempted to deny it before everything, but the image changed into too damning. Sooner or later she broke down and confessed to a brief affair with the person, a tourist from Italy she had met at the seaside. The following days had been a blur of shouting tears and recriminations. With my anger and hurt, I plotted my revenge. I contacted her own family and buddies, sparing no element of her betrayal. I made sure her social and expert circles may want to see her for who I assumed she'd become: a cheater, a liar. Our divorce was bitter and fast, her popularity tarnished via the tales I spread. Now, as I sit on my own in the quiet of our now empty house, I wonder approximately the price of revenge. Emma has gone out of my existence forever, however the shadows of what I did in retaliation linger. I turn via the photographs on my PC, each one a reminder of the happiness we as soon as faked so properly, and ponder the break left in the wake of betrayal. The days following our separation had been heavy with silence and regret. I moved via them like a ghost, a shell of my former self, my domestic as soon as full of laughter and warmth, now echoed with the cold, harsh sounds of solitude I had expected to experience pride, a feel of justice served. As a substitute, a gnawing vacancy took root. I was sifting through our shared belongings, finding out what to maintain and what to discard while my phone buzzed. It became a textual content from Tom, Emma's brother, and until lately, one and all my closest buddies. Tom, we want to talk, can we meet? His message changed into brief, without the same old warm temperature. I hesitated, understanding the communication would not be fine, but interest and a lingering loyalty to what our families had been pressured me to agree. Me okay day after today on the antique espresso house noon. Tom, see you there. Tomorrow. I arrived early, a knot of hysteria tightening in my belly. Tom walked in right on time, his face grim, his ordinary easygoing demeanor long past. Mike, he greeted, his voice strained. Tom, I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from me. We ordered coffees, and after a demanding silence, Tom spoke. Why you do it, Mike? Why spoil her like that? You didn't just cease your marriage, you ruined her existence. His phrases stung, but I used to be geared up to defend my moves. She cheated, Tom. She lied to me, to everyone. How turned into I supposed to simply permit that go by means of speaking? Perhaps through seeking to recognize, to discover a manner to move ahead. You watched spreading the tale was honest. It is now not just her. You've punished, think about her dad and mom. Her friends, consider how it displays on you. His rebuke become a slap to my judgment of right and wrong. The repercussions of my moves had spiraled a long way beyond my unique intentions. I was angry. I admitted the load of my selections, settling heavy on my shoulders. I failed to suppose I just reacted. Tom shook his head, his disappointment palpable. You want to make this proper, Mike, no longer for her but for you. You're better than this. Leaving the coffee shop, Tom's phrases echoed. In my mind, he turned into right in my quest for retribution. I had misplaced part of myself. It became time to reclaim it, to find a way to catch up on the harm done. As I walked return to my vehicle, I made a decision. I would begin by way of achieving out to Emma, not to reconcile, however, to provide an apology for the unnecessary cruelty. It changed into a small step, possibly too late, however it turned into a begin. Accomplishing my automobile, I paused, taking a deep breath before pulling out my smartphone. I hesitated, then dialed her range. It rang, after which suddenly she responded, "Emma." I commenced my voice, unsure we need to talk. Emma's voice was careful on the alternative give-up of the line. "Mike A. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. What's this approximately?" I cleared my throat, finding my resolve. "I assume we must meet. There are things I need to mention." A pause hung between us, thick with hesitation. Then quietly she agreed, "K, where the park by means of the river, the equal bench we used to visit." I cautioned an area impartial and public, encumbered with reminiscences of higher times the next day. At 4 p.m. her voice becomes steadier, now a hint of the strength I had usually famous in her. "Sure, I will be there." Tomorrow became brisk, the wind tooling the autumn leaves into whorls of gold and crimson. As I made my manner to the park, I arrived early, nerves edging my thoughts as I waited, looking households and joggers skip with the aid of. Emma arrived on time, her presence pulling me from my reverie. She had changed subtly. There has been a new hardness in her eyes, a defensive shell. "Mike," her greeting changed into simple, devoid of heat. "Emma." I nodded, motioning to the bench. We sat in ungainly silence stretching among us. I took a deep breath, the words I had rehearsed, humbling out. "I am sorry, Emma, for the way I handled the whole lot. I permit my anger and harm cloud my judgment. I desired to harm you because I was hurt. That wasn't right." She listened, her face unreadable. "Your apology does not change what occurred. Mike, you didn't simply lash out at me. You tried to break me. Why attain out now?" I checked out, her definitely looked, seeing the effect of my actions written throughout her guarded expression. "I recognize I cannot undo what I've executed. However, after speaking to Tom, I realized I have lost more than simply my marriage. I have misplaced parts of myself that I used to be proud of. I want to try to make amends, if not for us, for my personal sake." Emma changed into silent for a protracted second. "Do you bear in mind how we was? Mike, we had been a crew. What occurred to us? It became my fault. I admitted I must have communicated greater, relied on greater. But after I noticed that photo. Mike, that photograph wasn't what it seemed. Sure, I used to be unfaithful, however there has been more to it." Her voice faltered, then strengthened. "I was going to tell you to try to provide an explanation for a few things about myself. I'm nonetheless identifying, but you didn't provide me that risk." The revelation stunned, the complexity of her words, sinking in. I ought to have given you a chance to give an explanation for. Maybe we ought to have figured things out together." Emma shook her head, the briefest flicker of unhappiness, crossing her capabilities. "It is too overdue for what could have been, Mike. However, your apology is a start. We talked greater, the conversation meandering through the ruins of our courting." Because the sun began to set, casting lengthy shadows over the park. Emma stood. "This does not change the past, but maybe it may alternate how we flow forward," she stated. "One at a time, but with much less bitterness." "Thanks for listening. Emma, and I truly am sorry for the whole lot." She nodded, a gesture of acknowledgement, if not forgiveness, then became and walked away, leaving me to observe as she disappeared into the gathering nightfall. I sat there for a protracted, at the same time as deliberating the winding paths. We each need to tread apart, but forever connected by way of what had been and what ought to never be once more. The weeks that followed our communique in the park were turbulent. My thoughts become a tempest of regret and unresolved anger. The echo of Emma's partial confession about the photograph haunted me. The greater I notion approximately it, the greater the pieces failed to in shape. There has been something she wasn't telling me, something crucial that might trade everything. Determined to discover the truth, I decided to delve deeper. I contacted the person from the photo, Lucky, underneath the guise of searching for closure. Exceedingly, he agreed to fulfill, and we arranged to convene at a quiet bar downtown. The nighttime turned into chilly as I walked into the dimly lit area, spotting Fortunate at a secluded table. His demeanor became careful but open. "Mike," he greeted, extending his hand, which I shook reluctantly. "I admire you assembly with me." I started cutting directly to the chase. I need to recognize what passed off among you and Emma." Luke sighed, a touch of remorse in his eyes. "I thought you would possibly come searching out solutions." In the end, Emma and I, it wasn't just a fling we met at a convention the year earlier than the journey. We connected over shared pastimes, and sure, there was an attraction. I clenched my fists, my heart racing, and the picture he hesitated then endured. That image changed into supposed to be sent to a pal of ours who was meant to join us on the fortress. Emma desired to surprise you with a vow renewal. There I was helping her plan it, but she were given bloodless feet approximately telling you and sponsored out final minute. She was fearful of how a lot she had to lose. The revelation hit like a punch to the gut. My quest for revenge, based totally on an assumption of her betrayal, had been faulty, fueled by using my insecurities and brought on by using a false impression. And why would she danger the entirety if she became making plans something for us? I asked, my voice slightly a whisper. Due to the fact she loved you, Mike, she became trying to find the right time, and it just got out of hand. Anger, guilt, and sorrow swirled inside me. I had destroyed the entirety on a basis of misinterpreted truths and half of lies. Leaving the bar, I felt a plan, forming a dark, ruthless idea to undo the perceived betrayals, not just via Emma, however, with the aid of absolutely everyone who had deceived me knowingly or not. Over the following few days, I meticulously prepared my revenge towards those I deemed traitors. I began with diffused moves, sabotaging commercial enterprise deals, spreading rumors, and the usage of every piece of personal facts that they had ever shared with me towards them. For Emma, the revenge became the maximum non-public. I orchestrated a leak of her non-public writings and art, twisting them to appear as confessions of deceit and manipulation. The fallout was catastrophic. Her professional popularity turned into ruined, her non-public lifestyles in shambles. Finally, I arranged for one final assembly with Emma at the same park in which we had final spoken. She arrived searching, worn and defeated. "Why, Mike? Why are you doing this? I relied on you, and also you betrayed me," I said, my voice bloodless and unforgiving. "I in no way betrayed you," she countered, her voice breaking. "I cherished you. I was looking to make things proper." "It's too overdue for that," I answered, my selection cemented by way of my grief and fury. As we parted, the finality of our shattered bonds turned into palpable. We walked far away from every other, our paths diverging forever, each step echoing with the weight of betrayal and the ruinous fee of revenge. Inside the silence that observed, I realized that during my quest for retribution I had misplaced now not only the person I as soon as loved, but additionally the very essence of who I have been. The deception were my very own, a self-inflicted wound born from misunderstanding and the incapability to forgive.